Hey everybody, it's Matt with Max Video, and Happy New Year, everybody. This is the first video of 2016, and it's gonna take me a minute to remember to say 2016 every time I have to reference the year. But anyway, um, New Year, gonna try to make this a good year for the channel, and we're gonna start out with a book review. Yeah, it's inappropriate since the first video I did was about a book, and there you go. The book we're doing today is Stephen King's The Gunslinger. The Gunslinger is the first of a series of books called the Dark Tower series, and the book follows the gunslinger, who is Roland Deschain. He is the last gunslinger of the world. The world the series takes place in is usually referred to as Midworld. it it sort of parallels the world that we live in, and the fact that there's some songs that are similar. You have the gunslingers who are essentially cowboys without the whole cowboy aspect. They go around keeping the peace with revolvers and whatnot. You start out with Roland, who's referred to as the gunslinger through most of the first book, and he is after a character known as the Man in Black. He is a wizard that he is chasing after him in pursuit of the Dark Tower, which is a place that is referred to, not described much in the first book. You learn more about it as you go along the series. But you follow him as he's following the Man in Black, and when you start off, you following him through a desert, and you meet a bunch of characters along the way. You learn some backstory about Roland in the first book. Not a lot, but it's just a long series. I want to say it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 7 books long. And this is another book that I listen to in audiobook form, and it's a long series if you do it that way. Some of the books are 26 hours long audiobook, but hey, it's a good thing if you're on a trip or something. But anyway, follow Roland through most of the first half of the book. He's by himself. He does some flashbacks of when he had to wipe out a whole town by himself that got taken over by a sorcerer type person, and it's a demon really, but semantics. Eventually he finds a way station, an old abandoned way station from before the world moved on, as he refers to, which is after the world is in decline. And there you meet a boy by the name of Jake Chambers, and you learn that this boy died in our world, and after his death he appeared in Midworld, which kind of gives you the impression that this is sort of like a afterlife hell-like landscape. But you learn more about that later on in the series. I'm just covering the first book, it's just an introduction to the series, in hopes to pique your interest. But that to where I'm a bit more centered. There we go. Sorry, I'm still getting used to the whole tablet thing. Anyway, you meet Jake. Roland ends up having him go with him to follow the Man in Black. And throughout the series, they bond. It's sort of like a father-son relationship. Eventually, Roland, they get closer and closer to this Man in Black, and they end up going through, a learning process of, a demon tries to take, Jake's, life by, sleeping with him. He's only like a 12-year-old boy, which is weird, but Roland saves him by instead sleeping with the demon and forcing the demon to tell him secrets about the Man in Black and the things that are going on in the world. And then, you know, as they have to travel through a mountain, you know, tunnel that was originally a train tunnel, and they have to fight a bunch of ghoul-like creatures. That, you know, the way it was described reminds me of, like, the ghouls from Fallout 4, and you have to fight them, and eventually they get to the end of the tunnel. That you can see the outside, and they're on a bridge getting to the end, and Jake slips, and Roland has to either decide to save Jake or being able to finally catch the Man in Black. And Roland is obsessed with his pursuit of the Dark Tower. And even though he's, you know, begun to love Jake as a son, he, you know, chooses the Dark Tower instead and sacrifices the boy. And as he falls, the boy says, you know, go, there are other doors than these. And it's a very ominous, you know, thing to say as the final words, but it goes further on to the other parts of the series. I won't give it any away. But anyway, he finally catches up with the Man in Black, and him and Roland have palaver, as they say in the book, which is, you know, sit down and talk. And, you know, the Man in Black, he tells his fortune, essentially, of what's to come in his pursuit. And he sees the universe in his sleep that night. He sees the creation of the universe and the destruction of his world. And when he awakes, it's like 100 years in the future, and all that's left of the Man in Black is a skeleton. So he sleeps for 100 years. That's a steady nap. But, and that's the end of the first book. The first book doesn't have a lot to it. It's more of an introduction. And, you know, Stephen King wrote it very well. He made a full universe out of this book, you know, and it's theorized that, you know, the universe that the Dark Tower series creates contains all of Stephen King's books. All of his stories reside in this universe. You see bits and pieces of all of his books, you know, the psychic abilities that you see in The Shining. You see all these different things from Stephen King's other novels, and this series took him forever to write. And, you know, you can see the fact that he took pieces from books that he wrote later and he put them later in the series. You know, I've read a lot of Stephen King novels, and this is by far the most intricate one I've read. You know, later in the series, you see Roland continuing in his pursuit of the Dark Tower. He has to pull people from our universe, our world, and he only pulls from New York. I don't know, but, you know, he pulls a, you know, heroin addict. He pulls a, you know, woman that's missing her legs and has, like, schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder. You know, it just continues. It builds and builds that series. I'm not even done with the series, and it's building constantly. I'm in book 5 of the series, and, you know, it makes it to where you don't know what's coming next. It's a very well written book. I recommend it to anybody that loves a good mystery, action, suspense. You know, it has something for everybody. It has love stories, it has tragedies, it has all these things. But, you know, that's just an introduction to the series. You know, that's by no means a full, you know, overview of the book. That's just the main points. Like I said, it's, you know, it took like 16 hours to listen to the first one. That's a good sized book. I think it's like 500 pages by itself. But yeah, highly recommend it. But yeah, that's all for this review. In my next review, I'm going to be reviewing another anime, and as a hint as to what it is, it's about an anime that's, yeah, the name of the anime is named after a spaceship full of space outlaws that go around, have adventures, meet random people, they join the crew, and it's not Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, so there you go. So, if you like this video, hit a like. If you want to see more reviews, I review books, animes, movies, anything. I have a lot of collaborations with other people coming up. But yeah, if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button. And I'd love to see you in the next video. Alright guys, see you later.